Good morning, students. Today we are going to see the second part of epidemiology of malaria. Within this, we'll see first environmental factors of malaria. As we know, malaria is a seasonal disease which is typically seen from July to November during rainy and afterward the season. As a parasite requires optimum temperature between 20 to 30 degrees Celsius, which is typically maintained during this period. That's why it is being favorable for parasite. As well as humidity increases the lifespan of the mosquito, while rainfall provides an opportunity for the breeding, which leads to the epidemics of malaria. Along with that, man also being contributor for development of malaria, that is called as man-made malaria, due to formation of burrow pits, garden pools, irrigation channels and engineering projects which favors the mosquito life. Now, vector of malaria. As we know, malaria is caused due to the vector female Anopheles mosquito. This mosquito, Anopheles mosquito, having more than 45 species. Out of that, only some species are responsible for causing malaria. First, Anopheles calcifacis, second Anopheles fluviatilis, third Anopheles stephensi, then Anopheles minimus. Then there are certain factors which are being required for the development of malaria, that is sufficient density, then lifespan of Anopheles mosquito more than 10 days after getting infected. Then one more important aspect is their resting habits. Some mosquitoes having resting habit within indoors after feeding of blood, that is called as endophily, while some mosquitoes rest outdoors, that is called as exophily. Then typical time of biting also being a very important factor, especially in malaria. The dawn and dusk are the timings which are being typically seen. You can say night timing is one important time for transmission of malaria. Now we'll see modes of transmission of malaria. Within that, first, as we have already seen, vector transmission is the main mode of transmission through female Anopheles mosquito. Then second mode of transmission, that is through direct transmission. It can be caused due to intramuscular as well as intravenous injections. Commonest example is while giving blood transfusion. Third mode of transmission, that is congenital transmission, can occur, but it is very rare. It can occur due to infected mother. Infection can go from mother to the infant. Now, incubation period. In malaria, according to the species, the incubation period is being variable. Plasmodium vivax having an average incubation period of 14 days, while in falciparum it is averagely 12 days, while in malaria it is 28 days, and in oval it is approximately 7 days. Clinical features of malaria. Along with the fever, there are headache, malaise, fatigue, nausea, vomiting as well as muscular pains can be seen. Within this, primary fever is marked by paroxysms which are typically occurring with the release of parasite in the blood. As we have already seen in the life cycle of malaria, with the release of merocytes from rupture of RBC, there is occurrence of fever. Then typical attacks of fever comprises of three distinct stages. First, cold stage, hot stage and sweat stage. We'll see one by one. First, cold stage. The onset of the cold stage is with lassitude, headache, nausea and chilly sensation, which is being followed by the rigors. The temperature of fever rises rapidly from 39 to the 41 degrees Celsius. This fever is being associated with severe headache followed by an vomiting. The skin in the early phase is being cold to touch, while in the later on it becomes hot. On examination, the pulses become rapid but weak in presentation. The duration of cold stage is from 15 minutes to 1 hour. Second, hot stage. Within this hot stage, patient feels burning hot and cast off the clothes. During this high grade fever, there is intense headache, but the nausea starts diminishing, while the skin gets more hot and dry to the touch. On examination, the pulse becomes full and associated with a rapid respiration. The duration of hot stage is 2 to 6 hours. Third, sweat stage. Within this stage, the fever comes down with a profuse sweating. The temperature drops rapidly, reaches to the normal level. Skin becomes cold and moist. The pulse rate becomes slower and patient feels greatly relieved during this phase, and many times he falls asleep. Duration of the sweating stage is 2 to 4 hours. The other features of malaria: fever occurs in a definite intermittent periodicity. That's why malaria is also called as intermittent type of fever, repeating every third or fourth day depending on the type of species or parasite which is being affecting. Classical 3 stage may not always being observed in the cases of malaria. You can see the variations. Malaria has a tendency to relapse. Then it is associated with splenomegaly as well as secondary anemia. Now we will see one by one. Falciparum malaria, it is also called as black water fever. Within this falciparum malaria, the primary fever is a little bit irregular. Then it can follow a classical 48-hour periodicity. So first stage is seen like an irregular type of fever along with marked prostration. Then there is severe headache along with nausea and vomiting. Sometimes during this fever, if it reaches to high level, it can develop delirium. In the complication stage, it can lead to the hemolytic jaundice as well as anemia. So we'll see other features related to the falciparum infection. On the blood, you can see parasitemia, presence of anemia, thrombocytopenia as well as coagulopathy. Blood film examination, you can see a ring form of RBCs. The different system present with the different presentations. Within respiratory system, you can see the symptoms of pulmonary edema with difficulty in breathing. Sometimes in falciparum malaria, they can develop secondary bacterial pneumonia also. In cardiovascular system, falciparum malaria can develop into the cardiac failure called as algid malaria. Along with quinine, it can goes into the dysrhythmia or can be seen in the form of shock. In the renal system, you can see acute renal failure. Severe hemolysis can occur and presenting as an hemoglobinuria, and that's why this fever, falciparum malaria, is also called as black water fever. Then at abdominal level, you can see there is tenderness at the edges of liver along with enlargement of the liver. Pain which is typically seen in the left upper quadrant of abdomen due to splenomegaly. Then it can lead to the jaundice. At eyes, the optic fundi can present with rot spots, typically seen just like that of red or pink spots on the optic fundi. Neurological symptoms which are being seen as seizures, cranial nerve palsies, opisthotonus, sometimes hypoglycemia, and can even lead to the coma and death of a person. Plasmodium vivax malaria presentation. The 3-stage fever is typically seen in vivax malaria, but it is of mild in the form as compared to that of Plasmodium falciparum, as well as it is being typically or regularly divided into heat, cold and sweating stages. It presents with headache, fever, fatigue, muscular pain, backache, chills, sweating, enlargement of spleen, sometimes with nausea and vomiting. In Plasmodium ovale, it is a rare type of malaria which is more mild than that of vivax, and it is self-limiting in presentation. Even without treatment, also after few paroxysms, the patient can get recover. Plasmodium malaria clinically resembles with Plasmodium vivax, but the cycle is of typical 72 hours in spite of 48 hours, as well as it is having a tendency for long-term relapses. Now complications of malaria. Most importantly, most of the complications are typically seen in Plasmodium falciparum malaria as cerebral malaria affecting the CNS. It can cause acute renal failure, it can cause liver damage leading to the hemolytic jaundice, GI disturbances, it can cause dehydration and collapse leading to the shock, it can cause secondary anemia, it can result in the black water fever, and other malaria can cause complications like anemia, splenomegaly, hepatomegaly, herpes labialis, and sometimes renal complications. Now we'll go to the diagnosis of malaria. Malaria diagnosis is very simple. The demonstration of parasite in blood can easily make a diagnosis of malaria. So the test which is being done is called as PBS, peripheral blood smear, what you have done in the second year pathology. There are two types of PBS which is being done. One is thick film and other is thin film. Along with that, there are other tests which can be done. Antibody test, that is malarial fluorescent antibody test, can be done, as well as nowadays RDK is also being available, rapid diagnostic kit for malaria. We'll see basic thick film and thin film. Why these two films needed to be done? So these two films having some utility. Thick film is required for diagnosis of parasite, malarial parasite in the blood, while thin film is required to identify which species of Plasmodium is being present. Is it being Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, or some other? Now we'll move to the control of malaria. There are two approaches which are being required for the control of malaria. First, management of the cases in the community, and second, control of malarial transmission. For this, the treatment is being the most important aspect for management of cases. Here, for outpatient, antimalarial treatment for uncomplicated malaria following active and passive case detection. Inpatient treatment is required for the severe and complicated malaria. Even home treatment can be done. In the prevention, there are a number of different types of approaches can be followed. It can be by inhibiting the mosquito breeding by reducing the sources, chemical larviciding, as well as management of agriculture, industrial and urban development to avoid the creation of breeding sites. It can be through killing the adult mosquitoes in order to reduce the survival rate of the mosquitoes, which will reduce the malarial output. Indoor residual sprayings through use of insecticide treated bed nets, curtains like this, and use of isolate humans from biting by the vector mosquitoes. Again, use of bed nets, curtains, repellents, mosquito repellents, which are commonly being used. Fourth, that is through reducing malarial infection and morbidity in human by use of chemoprophylaxis. Now we'll see the treatment of malaria in uncomplicated cases. The commonest type of malaria, that is Plasmodium vivax, and second commonest malaria, which is Plasmodium falciparum. For Plasmodium vivax, the chloroquine and primaquine is being used. Chloroquine is used in 3 days doses. First dose is being given 600 mg stat, followed by 300 mg after 8 hours and 150 mg twice a day. Then after that, primaquine 0.25 mg per kg body weight for 14 days is being given to avoid relapses. In Plasmodium falciparum, artesunate is being used along with primaquine 0.75 mg per kg body weight on the day 2. While in mixed malaria where more than one species which are being present, artesunate combination therapy is being used. So we'll see this treatment of Plasmodium falciparum. You can use artesunate combination therapy, ACT. Within that, artemisinin derivatives along with long acting antimalarials can be used. There are a number of different types of antimalarials which are available: amidaquine, mefloquine, then artesunate, artemether. Artesunate is being used in 4 mg per kg body weight daily for 3 days. Then along with that, sulfadoxine 25 mg per kg body weight, and pyrimethamine 1.25 mg per kg body weight on the day 0, followed by primaquine 0.75 mg per kg body weight single dose on the day 2. Now after treatment, control of vector. So vector control strategies again is being done at two level, at anti-adult measures and anti-larval measures. So vector control is one of the very important aspect for control of malaria. For that we need to do number of different types of control measure. First, most important, reduction of sources, which is being done through intermittent irrigation, water level management, land filling, channeling and proper drainaging system. You can do control of vectors or mosquitoes through use of biological measures like exotic natural enemies, which are larvicidal fish, guppy fish, what we have been commonly heard about, as well as microbial agents. Then you can control vector through the chemical measures, in which you can use insect growth regulators as well as adulticides as well as larvicides. In adulticides, DDT and malathion are commonly used. In larvicide, Paris green powder, which is being commonly sprayed on the sites where the breeding of mosquito is being occurring. Then at personal protection, you need to use bed nets and mosquito repellents. And the last, that is health education, in which you need to educate the people about the malaria and how it is being getting transmitted through community education, school education, through the TV as well as mass and social media. You can easily control the vector of malaria. Thank you very much.